How were the roads from Big Sky this morning?
Amazing.
Were they okay?
Cheetah
we were
eyes.
great from Great Falls too. We were so happy. We prayed for good roads today, so we didn't have to hold things up. Right. Look at all these VIPs here today. Okay. You can tell I'm a broadcaster because we watch the clock, and when it says straight up 10, then we will start. But all of the principals, all the VIPs are here. So, well, I think we can get started, so we will. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 29th Annual Montana Statehood Centennial Bell Awards Ceremony, honoring the Montana History Teacher of the Year. I'm Norma Ashby Smith, Award Coordinator, and your Mistress of Ceremonies. I'm happy you are both here today. You're all here today. And I want to say that this is the first time I've been able to introduce myself at one of these ceremonies as Norma Ashby Smith, because since last year, I have been married, and I have my dear husband with me today, Dwight Smith. So take a bow, my friend.
We'll get him, Tiger.
We are wearing matching buffalo skulls from Charlie Russell Country. So, I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors, the 9 Montana Television Network stations, the Montana History Foundation, and the Sons and Daughters of Montana Pioneers for their financial support, and the Montana Historical Society for their cooperation with this project. Let's please give them all a hand. We also have a whole group of fabulous guests today, a whole group of family of our dear winner today. And I know that Tony Coppola will be introducing them by name because I don't want to make any mistakes, but we are thrilled that they traveled a long distance to be here. So would they please stand and be acknowledged? Let's give them a nice hand. Well, it was on November 8th, 1889, at 10:40 a.m. that tens of thousands of Montanans were united for one historic minute in the ringing of bells across our state to commemorate the 100th birthday of Montana statehood. To perpetuate the awareness of our state's birthday, the Montana Statehood Centennial Bell Award was established in 1990. This award honors the Montana History Teacher of the Year. On even-numbered years, it is given to a teacher at the 7th to 12th grade level, and on odd-numbered years, it is given to a teacher at the 4th, 6th grade level. Our winner this year is Tony Coppola, 9th grade teacher at Lone Peak High School in Big Sky, Montana. He is a native of Wooster, Ohio. We're pleased to recognize, as we did just a moment ago, his family and friends from Ohio who are here. Also his lovely wife, Megan. Please, and we are just can't tell you how much this means not only to Tony as well as to us. Tony attended Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, where he double majored in history and adventure recreation and outdoor education. He took a semester abroad in Australia where he participated in an Aboriginal cultural study. He received his Master of Arts degree in Native American Studies at MSU in Bozeman in 2006 and went back to MSU in 2012 where he received his Social Studies certification. In addition to Native American Studies, Tony brings learning to his students about the role of the Chinese, the Irish, the Germans, the Scandinavians, and the whole melting pot of immigrants who came as homesteaders, railroad workers, miners, and woodsmen. Tony says that Montana has the kind of history that makes you smile, cry, blush, and even sometimes leaves you with a sense of disbelief. That range of emotion is why I love the subject, Tony says. Tony will receive a total of $3,750 from our sponsors for the purchase of Montana history materials, field trips, speakers, and anything else that will enhance Montana history learning in his classroom. He will also receive a beautiful plaque. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our Lieutenant Governor, Mike Cooney, the favorite MC of Montana Broadcasters Association, who will present Tony with his plaque. I have it right here. Mike, there you go. And Heath Hagum, if you'd please step forward, who will present from the Montana Television Network, who will present Tony with a check for $1,500. So, or $1,000. So please step forward, Heath and Tony, if you come up here to get your prizes, okay? Okay, here it is. Okay. Let's give both these gentlemen a hand. Yes, before we start.
So before we start handing all these goodies out, you're going to have to wait a minute because I'm a politician and I get to speak. I do want to say thank you so much, Norma, for once again being here and helping spearhead this, and it's just always great to see you. Thank you, and it was great to meet your husband. Congratulations. Coppola family, thank you so much for being here and for joining us. This is a great honor for us to have you here. I know it's a great honor for Tony. So thank you so very, very much. Bruce Wittenberg, our director of the Montana Historical Society, thank you for all that you and the society does. Not every day, I mean every day in the state of Montana, but especially for what you're doing here today and how you've supported this. And Heath Hagum from KRTV, one of the main sponsors of this, he's got the money. So we're always happy. He's a wonderful guy, but he's got the money. I want to thank you very much for allowing me to join you for the 29th Montana History Teacher of the Year celebration. We're here today to say thank you to a Montana history teacher who has inspired students and made a difference in our state. We can all think back to the special teacher who was able to reach us like no others were. For me, I grew up in Butte, and honestly, I had incredible teachers, and I think back how patient and wonderful they were to put up with me. I also have a son who's a teacher. You know, he's not a history teacher. He's a government teacher, believe it or not. But I tell you, I am so proud that I have a teacher in the family. Today, our students are more equipped than ever to be successful throughout their educational and professional careers, thanks to our Montana teachers. There are countless teachers in our state that go above and beyond the call of duty, and today we are here to celebrate and acknowledge the work of one specific teacher for his outstanding efforts in Big Sky, Montana. He's a proven leader at Lone Peak High School, and I visited Lone Peak, beautiful school. And when we're looking at his accomplishments in his classroom, there's no doubt why he was selected for this distinguished award. Those of us who choose a career of public service do it because we want to provide the next generation with an opportunity for a successful life. Teachers all across Montana are providing our students with that opportunity for success today so that they can reach their full potential here in Montana for many years to come. So I want to say thanks to all the teachers throughout our state for their commitment to students and their community. And I want to give a special thank you and congratulations to Mr. Tony Coppola, 2018 Montana History Teacher of the Year. So Tony, now we can start handing out the goodies. First one to present to you, Montana Statehood Centennial Bill Award presented to Tony Coppola, Lone Peak High School, Big Sky, Montana. Montana History Teacher of the Year, November 8th, 2018. And it has sponsored by MTN, Montana History Foundation, Sons and Daughters of the Montana Pioneers, which I'm a member as well, and the Montana Historical Society. Congratulations, and thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Go for it.
Hi, I'm Heath Hagum. I'm with KRTV, as mentioned, out of Great Falls, but I also do some stuff here in Helena with stations KTVH and KXLH, and really with the Montana Television Network, which has stations all over the state. And I am not a politician, but I also have some things I want to say. I'm a broadcaster, so of course I have something I want to say. First, I just want to recognize the importance of what you do, and also have a family member who was a history teacher. My brother's been the history and government teacher at Bridger, down in the southern part of the state for more than 20 years now. And so I recognize and appreciate all that you do and what you do for the children of our state and for those that you serve. So thank you for that. And from MTN, I want to recognize this with a $1,000 check for you.
Awesome.
So thank you very much.
Oh, appreciate it.
Director's favorite and most special project is the Montana History Teacher of the Year. So I'd like to acknowledge two of our board members who are with us today, Nancy Nicholson of Helena and Mike O'Neill from Butte. Thank you for coming. So we made an investment entirely with private funds into this project to preserve and interpret Montana history. And we know that people like Tony are doing that every day, and they're doing that in the trenches, and they're doing that important work with all of you every day. We know that Montana history is rich and important, and some of that richness is found in our schools where inspirational teachers like Mr. Coppola instill passion and excitement for history in his students. Mr. Coppola gets that knowing where you come from is a really big part of understanding where you're going. As a student, as a citizen, I'm a new citizen of the United States. Understanding that and figuring out where you're going from here, that's the most important thing you can do. So thank you, Mr. Coppola, for doing that. Montana History Foundation extends an enormous acknowledgement of gratitude to Mr. Coppola and all the other history teachers of the state for the work that they're doing. So it's my pleasure to give Tony this check for $1,250.
And now the next goodie to be presented is from the Sons and Daughters of Montana Pioneers. And we're so happy to have with us Tim Soa, who is president of the Sons and Daughters of Montana Pioneers. He is from East Helena, and I'm very grateful to say that they have increased their donation this year to $1,500. Let's welcome Tim Soa.
Good morning. What she said. I don't say much in the way of words, and like I said to the students, thank you for making your teachers successful by showing your energy and interest in history. And is back when I went to history class, yeah, it repeats itself. Learn and enjoy. With that being said, Tony, would you please? We'd like to present you with a check for $1,500 and books, Dreams Across the Divide. That was our ancestors, families, writing what the history they learned from in there. So enjoy the book as well worth reading.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much for
And now we're very pleased to present the nominator for this award, a man with gorgeous eyes. His name is Alexander Ide, and we'd like you to step forward, Alexander, and get a nice applause from the audience. Principal.
No, thank you, Norma. It's my pleasure to be here. I was telling Norma right when we got here that when I was introduced and was able to say thank you to Norma for all the things that she's done to put this together, and for us to be here to celebrate, is that my son is learning interdisciplinary skills and also is how he interacts with others and shaking hands when he meets folks and looking them right in the eye. And my son now has gotten to the point where he'll shake someone's hand, look them in the eye, and come and tell me what color their eyes were. So that's pretty amazing and pretty interesting. But, good morning again. Thank you. It's my extreme pleasure to be here to speak on behalf of Mr. Coppola and his accomplishments, and as a nominator for this award. Mr. Tony Coppola is a vital cornerstone of our school district. He's got leadership and growth in the development of our young, small, rural schools, both our middle school and our high school he's been part of. He prides himself on his commitment to teach our students about the rich history of Montana, how it connects regionally, nationally, and globally, and on his positive relationships with all of his students. And I think representation today from grade 10 shows just that. Mr. Coppola, for the past 3.5 years, has been working with me closely, me as his principal. But I can say with confidence that he's a very accomplished teacher, mentor, and friend. Please allow me to expand upon his positive impact on our school district through showcasing some of his many contributions that I included in my recommendation letter for this award. History of Montana and the West. Each year begins a discussion about what teachers are going to teach for that year. And Mr. Coppola adamantly requests every year, for a great reason, a course that he's called and made himself Indigenous and Historical Perspectives of Montana and the West. And it's with good reason. He created this class to showcase the rich and diverse cultural history of Montana and the historical connections between the people and the land. His course presents students a wide range of teaching methods, including individual and group work, Socratic seminars, guest presenters, field trips, research papers, and investigations and debates. All of these methods include an inquiry-based approach, where students are asked to critically think and reflect individually as it relates to the whole. Mr. Coppola is masterful at facilitating the learning process in his classroom, and I can say with certainty that when you walk into his classroom, he's always positively engaged with his students and always finds a way to foster impact relationships with them. His passion for sharing Montana history with students comes out of a John Steinbeck quote he uses on his syllabus as he prints each year. John Steinbeck writes, "I'm in love with Montana. For other states I have admiration, respect, and recognition, even some affection, but with Montana it is love." Indian Education for All coordinator. We're very pleased that Mr. Coppola is our IEFA coordinator and advocate. We believe that he has gone out of his way to make sure our community is enriched through learning about the tribal nations of Montana and their diverse languages, cultures, history, and governments in connection with historical and contemporary Montana. Mr. Coppola serves as a role model for others in his enthusiastic approach to creating pathways for others to use this particular knowledge in their classrooms. Recognition of civic duties. Mr. Coppola is a strong supporter of teaching the students about Montana government, politics, and duties bestowed upon them as citizens of this great state and of this great country. He does this through extracurricular programs that he's built from the ground up here at Lone Peak High School. Of major note are Montana American Legion Oratory Contest, Boys Girls State, where he promotes student leadership qualities surrounding Montana and United States citizenship, our annual Grade 8 Washington, D.C. trip, where students are excited each year to connect Montana government and history with our nation's capital, including this past opportunity to meet with Senator John Tester. And then our annual fall outdoor expeditions, where students learn about team building, leadership, environmental stewardship practices in the Montana backcountry. These outside of classroom experiences help to create soul of our school and guide our students to lead purposeful and balanced lives in their journeys ahead. It's a builder of programs and curriculum connections. Our curriculum coordinator has this to say about Mr. Coppola's work ethic when it comes to building curriculum and program. Tony works diligently to produce engaging, important, and relevant curriculum in his history classes. Tony has a passion for his subject, and he is a lifelong learner in his subject, always reading the latest scholarship and perspectives on his topics. He is also a creative thinker and provides his students with an array of learning experiences and assessments. I can't say enough about his contribution to our school and to our students. So as our school community grows, we rely heavily on our staff to build and maintain our programming. Mr. Coppola has been instrumental to the building of our newly authorized International Baccalaureate program, specifically as it relates to connections between Montana history and the world around us. This program aligns with our mission and long-term strategic plan, and the Big Sky School District owes a great thanks to Mr. Coppola for his role in the development of this unique opportunity for our students and to explore Montana history in novel ways. Nurturing, supportive, and organized. Mr. Coppola works well with everyone he comes in contact with. Notable instances include connecting with other teachers to determine how best to support students when they're in need, in and out of the classroom, having an open door for students who need to talk about issues, and lending an ear when staff call upon him. These characteristics contribute to development of a strong relationship skill building and aid him in positive outcomes during any conflict resolution process. He is prompt to meeting, responds back to parents, creates calendars and timelines for student assessments, and meets all the administration on a regular basis to make sure that everything is in order. This strong sense of organization especially is apparent in his level in planning in his curriculum and development for all the history courses that he teaches. Notable evidence of this comes from background and feedback from guest teachers when they are always impressed when they show up and teach the lessons while Tony's not there, that they frequently reveal to me that they've learned something new about Montana history each time they're there. And then lastly, flexibility. Mr. Coppola always drops what he's doing to help students in need, especially for last-minute concerns. He adjusts extremely well for instances that are not planned and will gladly lend a hand whenever it may be needed. Often Mr. Coppola will fill in for a teacher when we don't have a guest teacher, and he does that with a smile and a positive attitude, and always looks for ways to bring Montana history into other classrooms when opportunities present themselves. So in closing, I'm very pleased that Mr. Tony Coppola is the exemplar who has received the Montana Statehood Centennial Bell Award. He has excellent teaching attributes, collegiality, a love for Montana history, and academic achievements, but also brings more unique characteristics to complement his deep enthusiasm for Montana, and those are nurturing, caring, genuine, local and globally minded, strong character, and creative. I look forward to working closely with Mr. Coppola in the coming years, and we at Big Sky School District are very proud of Tony Coppola's accomplishments. Thank you.
That's the best press agent I've ever seen. Wow, are you real? That even brought a tear to Tony's eye. That was beautiful. Among the many, many attributes that Alexander mentioned about Tony, he said he's strong on environmental things, and we have a great environmentalist here as a guest today. And I just want to acknowledge Jim Posowitz from Helena, who's one of the fathers of environmental conservation service in our state. And let's give Jim some applause. He's just written a new book called My Best Shot, kind of an autobiography of his life of service in this field, and I'd recommend, Tony, you get a hold of a copy. He'd probably even autograph it for you. Well, now that, I don't know how our young student can top what Alexander just said, but we do have a student here today, that beautiful young woman who's got a great big smile on her face. I don't know about her eyes, but her smile's beautiful. And her name is Riley Germain, and she'd like to say a word about what it's like to be a student in Tony's class. A nice hand for Riley.
Passionate, kind, supportive. Sorry. Mr. Coppola is countless positive and inspirational qualities all wrapped into one big teddy bear with wings. Hello, my name is Riley Germain. I'm a sophomore at Lone Peak High School, and this is my 5th year of being taught by Mr. Coppola. My peers, many of which are here with me today, and I have been lucky enough to have been in his class since the ripe age of 6th grade. Mr. Coppola is one of the most engaging, exciting, and energetic teachers I have ever had. Every day in his class is so unique. You never truly know what you're going to get. We were actually lucky enough to go on our 8th grade class trip to Washington, D.C. with Mr. Coppola as one of our 3 chaperones. Our class was finally able to see him in his natural element. He made the trip so much more exciting because of how excited he got us for everything that we were learning, that we were going to learn about during our stay. Unsurprisingly, his favorite museum was the National Museum of the American Indian. He made it so a lot of us couldn't even decide which of the museums we went to was our favorite. You can always hear the passion in his voice when he teaches. Montana history is extremely important, yet so many teachers don't focus on it near as much as they should. Montana history is one of Mr. Coppola's favorite things to teach about. An incredible aspect of his teaching is that he touches on almost every single learning style. His ability to do so is one of the reasons that he can help so many students understand the material. Something his style of teaching has taught me is that lessons are much easier to absorb when they are not said in a monotone voice. His rants are one of the most engaging parts of having Mr. Coppola when he is on his soapbox, as he likes to say. His rants cover a variety of topics, such as the cause of the Great Depression in America, how he proposed on April Fool's Day, even though it was not a joke, to the after effects of World War II. During every single one of his lessons, he always connects what he teaches to the real world and shows us how we'll use the information in our everyday life. He leaves an everlasting impact on each and every one of his students in and beyond high school. His greatest wish when it comes to teaching is the success of his students. He's more than happy to listen if we need someone to talk to, no matter what it's about. Give us advice whenever we need it, or write us a recommendation letter to help us achieve our goals. One personality trait he possesses that helps him teach is kindness. His sweet personality is what helps him connect to his students. He is more than willing to listen to all of his students' opinions. He has no judgment for what you believe in. I am so incredibly thankful that I have had the opportunity to have Mr. Coppola as not only a teacher, but a friend and a mentor. Thank you.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, Tony Coppola. We'll see if he really is all these things we've been hearing about. Tony Coppola, our winner.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, just so you know, there was an onion floating above my head the entire time Riley was talking. That's kind of why I've got the well works going here. Mr. Hyde, Riley, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
All right. I'm extremely honored to stand before you today, Montana Statehood Day, in this beautiful and historic building. I am truly humbled to receive this award and delighted to share this moment with all of you. So, over 18 years ago, I left the hustle and bustle and mainly humidity of northeastern Ohio to try my luck as a ski lift operator at the beautiful Big Sky Ski Resort. I had just graduated from Ohio University and found myself in needed of a new venue other than my parents' basement. I had always wanted to live out west, and as mentioned earlier, I remembered Steinbeck's description of the Treasure State and decided that Montana was the place to go. I love you guys too out there. I see that. All right. In short, I really had no intention of becoming a teacher, to be honest with you, let alone Montana history. But 5 years of being a bona fide ski bum, I snowboarded thousands of vertical feet, guided whitewater rafting trips, and backpacked my way throughout the state. I decided that it was time to get my poop in a group. So I snowboarded a lot less. I got an MA from Montana State University and followed up with a teaching certification in 2012. And lo and behold, after a couple years in the guest teaching pool, I landed a job here at Big Sky School District, which I've just begun my 6th year. So, the whole concept of teaching Montana history came from that transformation from being a ski bum to a school teacher. Instead of a night job where I slang corral burgers, I wanted to become more of a community member and found that deeper connection with teaching. I was asked to explain my love of teaching Montana history, more significantly how my Montana history course recognizes the rich and diverse cultures of the state, while at the same time engaging my students. So here we go. Montana State history is one of those most relevant and fulfilling classes that I teach at Lone Peak. In most states, this type of class lends itself to be taught in the middle school or elementary school, but here at Lone Peak, the proper historical investigation begins in the 9th grade. Many topics that I teach lend themselves to be too much for elementary school teachers and middle schools, yet sometimes even edgy for freshmen. But those skills that are learned, such as analysis, critical thinking, research and writing, as well as project-based learning, are all taught and hopefully mastered by the end. So, personally, sorry about that, Montana has the kind of history that makes you smile, blush, and even sometimes leaving you with a sense of disbelief, as was mentioned earlier. That range of emotion that is derived from the content and the stories are truly why I love the subject. Its diversity of gritty protagonists and downright evil villains, as well as the major and minor events, all create a wild and epic tale that truly speaks to me. I find that since I still have a sense of wonder about the state and its history, that I can use that to foster engagement in the classroom. If I'm into it and want to learn more about Montana history, then hopefully my students will follow suit. Engagement is the cornerstone of the Montana history course here at Lone Peak High School. The very first lesson involves the students creating a virtual road trip where they got to visit towns and places that most of us never even heard of. We create lots of visual aids, we make banners, we make maps, and we try to explore the geography and the geology of the state through that. The first semester of the class is truly an in-depth study of the Native American population and its surrounding regions. Each fall, I invite my friend and colleague, Dr. Shane Dolio of the Apsaluka or Crow Nation, to come and give an account of his life on the reservation, as well as share his people's oral traditions and beautiful music. The students are in awe of his message, soothing demeanor, and voice, as well as his drumming and beautiful singing. We also move outside and we erect a teepee and learn about the diverse structures of indigenous people of the North American continent, mainly the Montana or the Medicine Wheel region. And more importantly, we defunct that misnomer that all Indians live in teepees. We practice sign language to identify the first people of Montana, and that provides the students with the baseline of information. From that point, the learning becomes theirs. They create peer teach lessons, and then they present these all about the 7 reservations of Montana to their 3rd graders at Ophir Elementary, and also to the peer group. This is where they become the teachers. Depending on the year, we try to get on a field trip to the Missouri Headwaters State Park and the Madison Buffalo Jump, where we investigate traditional hunting methods, gathering points of the many people that inhabited this region, and the thriving trade and economy that existed well before the Europeans arrived. So after that point, I take back over the class and we start to investigate some of the not so pleasant parts of Native American relations. We focus on the treaty era, relocation, allotment, assimilation, the reorganization or the New Deal, and the termination period, finally ending with tribal self-determination. The class looks at these and sees how the relationship has shaped stereotypes, created loss and gain of culture, and finally compares their lives to those on the reservation in the very same state. Needless to say, it's a powerful message that leaves many students in disbelief and empathetic. The second part of the school year is what I refer to more a traditional approach, but it's just as much fun as engaging. Some of the kids are going to come up and talk about that here shortly. But the class learns the creation of the 3 major industries: mining, lumber, and agriculture and ranching. We also investigate how the railroad dictated settlement patterns and contributed to the rise and fall in Montana's economy during the population busts and booms. Students get to create their own 162-acre homestead and do extensive research on World War I, World War II, and the Great Depression, once again becoming the teachers. The class looks at the very unique Montana State Constitution and then ends the year with a sometimes local, sometimes relevant debate about Big Sky's government or lack thereof. This assessment is definitely a hot topic debate since many families are business owners and many of them have their own opinion. And it comes out in their student. It's fun to see. With that being said, the engagement level of my students is only bested by how cultural diversity is addressed throughout the school year. In my opinion, the Montana history class is a mirage of cultures and investigations into those cultural perspectives. The approach to learning, in my background in Native American studies, allows the students to learn about the varied cultural traditions of the vastly unique people of the state. I strive to put in their hands documents, interviews, podcasts, public radio shows, films, and even guest speakers, and field trips that really hit home that Montana perspective. Class content also makes the same effort to learn about the role of the Chinese, the Irish, the Germans, the Scandinavians, and the whole melting pot of immigrants. Excuse me. Many of those people still have roots here in the state today. That class also delves into Montana's progressive statutes for women's rights and environmental legislation. Not only is the content diversified, but so are the learning opportunities. Students are given the opportunity to be the teacher, research areas of interest, and I make a deliberate effort to create lessons and learning experiences that are student-centered and facilitate best practice. So the class, Montana in the West, Historical Indigenous Studies, is a freshman-level humanities course that strives to engage the students through diverse content and perspectives that make up the great story called Montana. It is my hope that by reflecting my genuine love of the content and the desire to continue to educate myself, that my students will share in the educational journey, and together we can explore the rich, diverse chapters of Montana history. All in all, and this is definitely the underlying reason for my teaching this, is my hope is to create informed and empathetic students who care enough about Montana's history in order to create solutions for its future. Excuse me. All right, so in closing, I just have some thank yous. First, I want to say thank you to my wife, Megan, for putting up with me, celebrating this award, or just our lives together in general. My family, Mike and Michelle, my mother and father-in-law, my mom, Betty, my brother, Brad, coming from Iowa and Ohio to be a part of this day. For Alex, thanks, you made me sound really great. But also for having your faith in my ability as a teacher and a colleague. And to Riley for your kind thoughts and kind words and thoughtful addresses. Thank you. You made me cry. Good job. To Lieutenant Governor Cooney, Norma Ashby Smith, the Montana Television Networks, the sons and daughters. She's still hiding over there. Sons and daughters of the Montana Pioneers, the Montana History Foundation, and the Montana Historical Society for the recognition, the awards, and the treats, as Norma's called them. All right. To the Big Sky School District and my colleagues, thank you for your support. And finally, to my students in the audience and back in Big Sky, this award is for you guys. You're the reason I go to school every day and the job that I love. Thanks for being you. Okay, so are we going to invite the kids up? All right, sounds good. Okay, so first we're going to have Lily McCarthy come up and just talk about some of the projects that we did last year. I believe she's talking about our regional posters. Yep. Okay. And you guys have to keep it short, which I'm sure you'll love, because we got to ring the bell in 5.
Shortly, Tony Coppola and his students will ring the Montana Statehood Centennial Bell for 60 seconds. This beautiful bell was donated by Brent Bliss of Great Falls in memory of his father, Elmer Bliss of Power, Montana. Elmer Bliss had found this bell in the St. Ignatius area. It was refurbished and the oak frame was built for it by a craftsman in Great Falls. It was brought to Helena from Great Falls on a flatbed truck by Scotty Zion and placed in the Capitol by an act of the state legislature. It is rung annually on the occasion of the state's birthday by our Montana History Teacher of the Year and his or her students. It was exactly at 10:40 a.m. Now, why don't you students start coming forward and getting into place, because 10:40 a.m. is here. It's exactly at 10:40 a.m. on November 8th, 1889, that President Benjamin Harrison signed the proclamation declaring Montana the 41st state in the Union. Our governor, the Honorable Joseph K. Toole, learned of this historic event through a telegram. Now let's once again be a part of history and celebrate our state's 129th birthday by ringing the Montana Statehood Centennial Bell for 60 seconds. And be prepared, it's very, very loud. All right, ready, set, go. Right out of the Capitol. Absolutely terrific. And now I would like to introduce Bruce Wittenberg.